Welcome back. You're watching VUCA Africa. Now, according to the Department of Human Genetics at the South African Institute for Medical Research, 1 in 35 black South Africans is a carrier of the albinism mutation. And if both parents are a carrier, chances are the child will be an albino. One such person is Nomasonto Mazibuko, who is in the studio with us now to tell part of her story of living with albinism. However, she's also started a organization to assist in bringing awareness to people living with albinism, but also to support those who are living with it. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the viewers.
I'm so interested in what it is that you, as the Albinism Society of South Africa, are looking to achieve. Tell us more.
What we're looking to achieve with the Albinism Society is to do a lot of advocacy, and we're advocating on the rights of people with albinism. And then we really saying we don't live with albinism. We've got albinism because we present ourselves from birth with albinism. And then we do counseling to our parents. Specifically, you find that when albinism presents itself, it presents to parents that do not have albinism, and it always comes as a shock. So we do counseling and give them hope that their children, there's nothing wrong with their intelligence, and they are going to grow to be fruitful citizens. And then we do a lot of placements where young people have got qualifications, but because of attitudes, people are not employed. And we partner with a department or with the National Council of the Blind. And now, from the 13th of June, L25 has been now declared exactly, albinism has been declared a disability. And now we're looking forward to having a lot of influence. And then we've just had our first Albinism Society conference. It was out in Belgium, where we partnered with the Department of Women, Children and People with Disability. And then we think the Department of Education, Department of Health, Department of Social Development, Department of Labor will now look at us differently from what they've been thinking and what they were perceiving about albinism.
Is that what you want? Do you want to be perceived as different?
We are different, and our difference is not noticed until it is very sure that people don't look at us once. They do look at us maybe in a shopping mall, and they look at you and want to know, is she white or is she black? So we are different, and we would like to make people to say, yes, we're different, but we need to be talked to, we need to be interrogated why we're white, especially into the black. And we're saying albinism is not only to the black people only, it is a world phenomena. It happens to colored Indians and also white people.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's albinism presents into human nature, and it even goes further to the animal kingdom, where you find a lion with albinism, a snake with albinism, and it has been there from time immemorial, but it has been overlooked, and we have lived with a lot of discrimination.
Now, part of the issue for people living with albinism, of course, is the fact that they often have visual impediments. Is that the main reason for the partnership, for example, with the Society for the Blind and so on?
Yes, because of us, people with albinism lack melanin.
Yes.
Melanin in their skin, in their hair and in their eyes. And then we are visually impaired. That is what led us to even having this disability, because our eyesight differs and our eyesight is very limited.
And so it's important to emphasize that that when you have presented with albinism, schooling becomes difficult for you, for example, because of the visual impairments and so on and so on. And there needs to be consideration.
Yes, schooling, but it's much better today with a lot of ICT, because you can have large print, and we're looking forward that people now understand. And with the Albinism Society, there's a lot of teaching, there's a lot of advocacy to say, hey, there is a child with albinism. Look at her from this angle. Treat her with dignity, because as our constitution says, everybody has life to dignity and to life. And there's lots of myths that goes with albinism, where people will tell you that you don't die, you just vanish.
Oh, that's a terrible thing for a child to hear.
Yes. And people will say we are have the lucky charm, and people, where we go even further, where people take our body parts for mutilation and say we give luck, and other people want our hair. So there are many things that as an organization we're teaching people, and we're teaching acceptance, and we're saying to our parents, please love us enough to be called people with albinism.
Now, this road for you, Nomasonto, started a long time ago. I mean, of course, it started at birth. I want to know you sit here with me as a woman of great courage, a woman that is celebrated for the work that you're doing with the Albinism Society of South Africa. But your journey could not have been easy in a time when people had very little understanding. Tell me about that.
It wasn't easy, and that is why it led me to start the organization, whereby I was a teacher at the school where my biological sister was the principal. And as a young lady, you work very hard and you look at the upward mobility, where I was now head of department and applied for a post to be a deputy principal of the school. But I did go through the panel and the interview was successful. But to my greatest surprise, on Monday when I was going to start school work, people said we cannot have sisters running a school as deputy and principal. And the main thing people said, we cannot have an albino as our deputy principal. And both parents of that area and teachers who have been my colleagues emphasized the fact that I have albinism. And it is only then that it dawned to me to say, hey, I'm different, and here now I cannot. And yet I had taught in that school for 20 years.
Wow.
And you know, it so much amazed me to say, look, you're different. And after being working, I took myself as a slave to say, I've been working in the school. Now when it is part of my achievement to be applauded, people started calling me names. And it really pained my heart to see educationists, adults, calling me an albino.
Not the naive, the learned.
Yes, let me say that. But it didn't impact on me negatively, because it only said to me, these people are ignorant. And it is only when that I went down to my books and tried to research to say, why do people with albinism are born to parents without albinism? And what is the incidence of how big are the numbers? And let me tell you, many people were suffering in silence, because people started to say, I was also ill-treated in this way. And least did we know that as people say we don't die, we vanish, because people have lost children.
Right.
People have
who have vanished.
Yes. So we don't know, we don't have proof that how far the people have vanished. But let me tell you, we do die, because I lost a brother and a sister, 2 brothers and a sister. And I know that anybody who is human do die at some stage.
That's an amazing story. It's heartwarming, but it also shows in you a great strength. I'm wondering how much your now called disability had to do with developing that strength, or were you always this strong?
Well, I think the strength came from my background. My father, I always applaud my father to say, whilst my mother got children, we are 10 children. 5 of us have albinism, 5 of my brothers and sisters don't have. And if my father did not insist to say, these are my children, and insisted that we should go to school and instill the love, I think he should have run away. And looking at myself, I always laugh about it to say, I'm the 9th child. And each time my mother got a child, and I happened to be this child with albinism, and my brother, who is number 10, also had albinism. I said, thank you to my mother, because if she was not brave herself, I couldn't have been born.
That's true.
So,
she could have given up and said, I'm not going to do this again.
Exactly. And I just give respect to my parents for instilling that confidence in us, especially to me, that self-assertiveness and the issue of helping. Because I find myself lending a hand. As I speak to you right now, a child with albinism is born, and I'm ready to receive that child into humanity. But I'm saying to that child, welcome to the world, not cruel, but everything is prepared for you, because we are a democratic country. In the 20 years of our democracy, people with albinism being fixed into the disability.
Yeah.
Disability in this country has been a wheelchair and a cane.
That's true.
But now
That's true.
we're coming together to say, as we are termed disabled, yes, but it's not the end of the story. And we're not looking forward to be sitting at street corners and begging. We're saying, just give us a chance. Our parents must love us. The
Yes.
educators must receive us into
And society
early
must accept us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Nomasonto, you lived a really full life. I say this because you've just given us your family history, a loving family, lots of support. But for most people living with albinism, is it a lonely road to travel?
Yes, it is lonely, because as I said to you, we present ourselves to those people who don't know, who don't even have the showing in their family history, because albinism happens in the 2nd generation, whereby people don't even understand why. As we speak for now, there are those people who are still not exposed, who are still kept in their houses to say, don't do this, don't do that. And I urge to say, people are lonely, but as we have formed the organization, it is in the 9 provinces. Let's form support groups. Take those children out, love them, and expose them, because they have mentors now. We've got people who are models. We've got people who are teachers. And we're looking forward to a very lively, because we're saying there are indoor games. Let's go for the games.
That's true.
Yes,
That's very
let's go.
true. Nomasonto Mazibuko, thank you so much for coming into the studio with us. You're such an inspiration. I'm so inspired. Bottom line is, the same blood that runs through my veins runs through yours. This is the Albino Society of South Africa, very newly launched, really in need of support. The hope, of course, is that now that it's recognized, or albinoism is recognized as a disability, that there will be more support coming.
Exactly.
But the fact is, the only difference is, there are very few differences between someone living with albinism and one of us. Finding your strength within is one of the best things that you can do, particularly for people living with disabilities. And as has just been said, there are indoor sports. You don't have to play outside. Doesn't mean that you're any different from anyone else.